afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to This Is Now, our top story at noon today. There is a new eruption at Kilauea on Hawaii Island. This latest eruption began around 12:30 this morning, about a mile south of the caldera. USGS says there is no threat to the public. The eruption site is in a closed area that isn't accessible by car or trail, so we can't see it just yet. And at last check, around 9:40 this morning, scientists said the volcano was erupting in that remote location. The eruption was described, however, as low in volume and located 2.5 miles south from the main Kilauea caldera. The number of active fissures is also down from 3 to 1 since the overnight hours, with the flows traveling only about a few hundred meters. And in fact, let's take you live outside now to that Kilauea camera. You can't see much, as we mentioned, but this is a live feed from our friends over at the USGS. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Dylan Ancheta. Ashley has today off. In our other top story, Governor Josh Green signed the largest tax cut bill for working families in the state. With the high cost of living driving out families from the state, he hopes that these tax cuts will help the families who need it most. Here's what he said at a press conference a short time ago.
It is a $5.6 billion tax reduction between now and 2031, and it's a 70% decrease, 70% decrease in income tax for working families. 40% now of our taxpayers will pay zero state income tax, up from 25%. So this is about equity. Now, people are going to ask, how can we afford this? The fundamentals are this. Individuals who are working paycheck to paycheck will spend every single dollar on local businesses, on their rent, on cars, on their healthcare needs. They will spend it here for their families, for school books for their children. They will all spend it right here at home. Individuals who make many millions of dollars, God bless them, we're excited for them, but they already have enough resource to maintain their needs. Individuals who are in a more modest situation are trying to pay rent. So that's how this is going to stimulate our economy.
The governor also signed a bill that will provide tax exemptions for medical services. Stay tuned to H&N digital platforms and our evening newscast on how these measures will impact Hawaii taxpayers. Police arrested a 19-year-old man after he crashed an SUV into a Wahiawa house over the weekend. Romany Norman now faces a charge of reckless driving. Witnesses say a group of teenagers were doing donuts on Kilauea Avenue Sunday morning when they lost control of the vehicle and smashed into this living room. The home's 2 residents were not hurt. Law enforcement sources say 5 teenagers were in the car. One of them could be seen with a relative who was visibly upset.
They were definitely scolding him. You know, you go with your friends, you think you're going to have harmless fun, but stuff like that can happen, and it doesn't always turn out with no one getting injured.
The SUV was towed away. It's unclear if alcohol or drugs were involved in this incident. Honolulu police are working to track down a group of men wanted for armed robbery in the area of Kalihi Valley Public Homes. According to police records, the 2 men were sitting in a vehicle on Kalena Drive around 5:30 Saturday morning when at least 4 men approached their car. We're told both victims were allegedly beaten at gunpoint. A witness called police, but the suspects were already gone before officers arrived. Jury selection is underway in Hunter Biden's federal trial on felony gun charges. The president's son is accused of lying on a federal form about his drug use while purchasing a firearm. Erica Brown has more from the courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware.
Hunter Biden arrived at the federal courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware for the start of his trial on felony gun charges. Inside, he took notes during jury selection while First Lady Joe Biden sat in a row behind him. The president's son is charged with making false statements when he brought a gun in October 2018, claiming on a federal form he was not using or addicted to drugs. He's also charged with unlawfully possessing the gun as a drug user.
Prosecutors don't bring these types of charges every day, alleging that someone falsely filled out a form in order to purchase a firearm. They're not absolutely unheard of, but this is not a bread and butter type of prosecution by any stretch.
The trial comes less than a year after a plea deal fell apart, with the judge questioning whether the deal shielded Biden from future charges as well. In pretrial court filings, Biden's legal team contends he had been undergoing rehab when he bought the gun and may not have considered himself an addict.
A lot of this case is going to turn on, what some might see as legal parsing about whether he believed he was an addict, whether he was in fact addicted when he checked the box on the form saying that he wasn't addicted.
Hunter Biden has been public about his battle with addiction, and passages from his memoir are expected to be part of the evidence. President Biden issued a statement saying, as the president, I don't and won't comment on pending federal cases. But as a dad, I have boundless love for my son, confidence in him, and respect for his strength. If convicted, Hunter Biden faces up to 25 years in prison. Erica Brown, CBS News, Wilmington, Delaware.
And more political fallout continues following the historic conviction of former President Donald Trump. Trump faces sentencing in 6 weeks just before he's set to accept his party's presidential nomination. Senior Washington correspondent Hallie Jackson has more.
Former President Trump overnight saying he hopes to take his case to the country's highest court, posting the Supreme Court must decide, as he now braces for what could come at his sentencing in 6 weeks.
The judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail. How do you face what that could be? I'm okay with it.
An extraordinary moment after his unprecedented felony conviction on 34 counts of falsifying business records. The penalty is now ranging from probation to prison time, which is technically possible, legal experts say, but highly unlikely.
I'm not sure the public would stand for it. I think it would be tough for the public to take. At a certain point, there's a breaking point.
That ominous-sounding suggestion coming in an interview before Mr. Trump's appearance at a UFC fight Saturday night, as he also tries to distance himself from those lock her up chants about his 2016 opponent, Hillary Clinton.
They don't say lock her up, and I felt, and I could have done it, but I felt it would have been a terrible thing. And then this happened to me. Hillary Clinton, I didn't say lock her up, but the people don't say lock her up, lock her up.
In reality, though Clinton was never convicted of any crime, Mr. Trump did say lock her up repeatedly.
For what she's done, they should lock her up. Lock her up is right.
Since the conviction Thursday, the RNC says the committee and campaign have raised $70 million online, a massive haul.
There's no doubt that this verdict has actually brought unifying our party.
But multiple polls this weekend find majorities of Americans agreeing with the guilty verdict, with the Biden-Trump race overall remaining deadlocked, as it's been for months. Most top Republicans falling in line behind the presumptive GOP nominee.
We have to fight back, and we will, with everything in our arsenal. But we do that within the confines of the rule of law.
As President Biden himself issues a warning about GOP rhetoric.
And it's reckless, it's dangerous, it's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict.
In aid to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel had agreed to the framework for President Biden's plan to bring an end to the war in Gaza, though he said it was not a good deal. A deal is yet to be finalized, and NBC's Ras Sanchez has more from Jerusalem.
Hey there, 3 days after President Biden stood in front of the world and laid out the details of what he said was an Israeli proposal to free the hostages and end the war in Gaza, the Israeli government is pushing back and saying that is not what they agreed to. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking in front of the Israeli parliament earlier, says he has not agreed to a permanent ceasefire without the destruction of Hamas. President Biden suggested that at this point, 8 months into the war, Israel has done enough damage to Hamas that the terror attack of October 7th cannot be repeated. Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying that the president left out key details of this proposal. So we at this point do not know where the Israeli government stands on this proposal. Prime Minister Netanyahu is under intense pressure from the far right of his government, who say that they will topple his cabinet, his government, if he moves forward with this deal. But he's also under pressure from the families of the Israeli hostages who want him to move forward with this deal and do so immediately. We spoke earlier to the parents of Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, the 23-year-old Israeli American being held hostage. Take a listen to what they told us.
At this point, on day 241, my feeling is it's enough. What we have not accomplished militarily in 241 days, I don't know that another week or 2 or 5 is incrementally going to really matter, right? And I don't think that those politicians have the right to continue to say, we're going to just ignore 125 of our people. Let them sit there for longer while we continue on this path.
Now, the official number of Israeli hostages in Gaza had been 125. Today it was lowered to 124. The Israeli military saying that one man who they thought was being held in Gaza was in fact killed on October 7th, and his body has now been found inside of Israeli territory. In Gaza, people there praying for a ceasefire also. The last functioning hospital in Rafah shut down over the weekend, and the United Nations now says more than 1 million Palestinian civilians have been displaced from Rafah amid Israel's ongoing military offensive there. Back to you.
The first observatory on the summit of Mauna Kea has been taken down. UH Hoku Kea Observatory has officially been decommissioned. The process cost $1 million and involved extensive cultural and environmental training for construction crews. This comes following UH's commitment to decommission 2 telescopes on the summit before the recently created Mauna Kea Authority assumes control in 2028.
As everyone knows, the scientific resources, the cultural resources, and the environmental resources here on Mauna Kea are very, very special. And so we only want to be doing the kind of science, the kind of stewardship that Mauna Kea deserves. We'll go up to the site, and then we'll have a pulley, oli mele or just a oli, and we'll start our day. So that way we can move forward with a sense of spirituality, the importance of the work we're doing up there, and not just a regular construction site.
It took 6 dump trucks and 9 trailer loads to remove the debris after the structures were taken down. The Caltech Sub-Millimeter Observatory will be decommissioned later this year. And we have a new phone scam to warn you about. HPD and Crime Stoppers says it involves a phone call from a man who identifies himself as Captain or Lieutenant Cortez with HPD. They tell victims they're wanted for a warrant and need to pay a fine. The caller also disguises his number with one that connects back to the police station. Law enforcement officials say they will never call the public and ask for payments.
Share this information with your family, especially with your kupuna, and let them know that, just be very cautious when they do receive these phone calls. Unfortunately, we've had cases where people have paid money, and that's the only reason why this scam continues.
If you get a call like this, you're urged to contact police to report it. Before we head out to break, let's send you live outside to Hilo, Hawaii. Kind of a gloomy day there, but of course, Hilo is known for its rain. Stay with us right after this short break. Drew Davis will have a look at your island weather.
only going to find this VOG forecast here on Hawaii News Now. So let's zoom in and see what we're expecting over on the Big Island. This is the latest run of the VOG forecast. It doesn't have a lot of the data since it was just generated from the data over on the Big Island. It doesn't have the eruption data in it just yet, but you can see the winds, the trade winds are in full effect and are going to be pushing this VOG forecast into the VOG off to the southwest of the Big Island. And what we're watching very closely over the next couple of days with this eruption, because of the air quality, will be these trade winds. It's going to be a little bit breezy out there throughout Monday and Tuesday. Advancing a little bit further, this is Monday evening around 11 p.m. You see winds out of the northeast around 10 to 15 miles per hour. But by the time we get to Tuesday, they're breezier earlier in the day, and then Wednesday morning you start to see those winds taper off. We're going to see lighter winds throughout Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And with the eruption, that's cause for concern because of the air quality and these strong winds not blowing away the VOG. Our first alert futurecast going forward throughout Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Some showers possible. Some thunderstorms are actually possible each afternoon over the Big Island. There is a disturbance close to the Big Island causing that, but we'll see a drying out pattern throughout Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Going into the weekend, it's going to be much drier, maybe some isolated showers across the state. Your surf and shoreline forecast, north-facing shores on the rise. By the time we get to Monday afternoon, we should be around 5 to 7 feet out there. West, south, and east-facing shores all relatively steady. South-facing shores are remaining relatively elevated because of several south-southwest swells that are making their way towards the island chain. Your first alert 7-day forecast, Monday and Tuesday, still tracking some isolated thunderstorms popping up near the Big Island, some potential downpours over there. That's true each afternoon, Monday and Tuesday. We'll see the winds ease Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Dr. Anthony Fauci testified before Congress Monday on his role during the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. It's his first public appearance since retiring from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, which he ran for nearly 4 decades. CBS's Nicole Skenga is on Capitol Hill with the details.
Dr. Anthony Fauci defended his role in guiding the government's initial response to COVID-19 as House Republicans questioned measures like social distancing and business closures.
These were important when we were trying to stop the tsunami of deaths that were occurring early on. How long you kept them going is debatable.
The Select Committee on the Coronavirus Pandemic has spent 15 months investigating the virus origins. Republicans claim Dr. Fauci tried to cover up a theory it was created in a Wuhan, China lab.
Do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I think most of the country would find that amazing. I still got 11 seconds.
Well, look at the facts. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
Dr. Fauci said this 3 years ago.
I think that we should continue to investigate what went on in China.
A report out last year showed U.S. intelligence agencies have differing opinions about where the virus came from.
And he belongs in prison.
Democrats say their GOP counterparts are on a political witch hunt rather than a fact-finding mission.
Dr. Fauci shows he is an honorable public servant who has devoted his entire career to the public health and the public interest, and he is not a comic book supervillain.
The investigation has uncovered emails suggesting 2 of Dr. Fauci's former aides were trying to avoid public record laws. But he said he wasn't aware and didn't conduct official business using his personal email. Nicole Skenga, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And in international news, the results of a historic election in Mexico are in. Claudia Sheinbaum will be the first woman president in Mexico's history. NBC's God Venegas is in Mexico City with more on this groundbreaking election and how it could impact Mexico's relationship with the U.S.
A historic election for Mexico, with voters electing the first female president in the country's 200-year history. Officials announcing overnight that Claudia Sheinbaum had gained 58 to 60% of the vote, enough for her to declare victory here in Mexico. It'll be a change in Mexico, a president that speaks English, different from the past 2 presidents that Mexico had, a president that lived in the U.S. that will perhaps be much more relevant with people in the United States. She will have to tackle issues that have been affecting the country, public safety and violence that rattled Mexico throughout this election campaign cycle, with dozens of candidates or aspiring candidates assassinated. These are just some of the issues that Claudia Sheinbaum will have to tackle. Last night, runner-up Xochitl Gálvez also announcing that she had called Sheinbaum and told her that she had observed a country with a lot of pain and violence, sending a message to Sheinbaum and wishing her the best. Sheinbaum also speaking to supporters, saying that she arrived here with the support of all women and plans to continue the legacy of Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Sheinbaum will also have to move forward with an immigration plan, negotiating immigration policy with the U.S. as Mexico continues adding more migrants, with the arrival of thousands daily through its southern border that want to make it to the U.S., and Mexico has been stopping. So these are the issues that will have to be tackled by Mexico's new president. Back to you.
Hundreds of people came out over the weekend on Kauai to celebrate Kauai Pride. This is in conjunction with national pride events happening around the country. There was a parade Saturday morning along with an evening show filled with entertainers and lots of aloha. There was also a festival on the lawn of the county building in which community members came out to express their joy for the season of Pride. Even more people are expected to hit the high seas this year, and it might surprise you that a lot of those people are on the younger side. NBC's Sam Brock explains.
To take a cruise in 2024 means fine dining, entertainment, and thrills on the high seas. It's a far cry from the shuffleboard and buffet days depicted on shows like Love Boat a generation ago. The love affair now includes pulsating beats, pool parties, and many more millennials.
As a millennial, with all the things that we have going on in life, it just makes it easy.
With a record-breaking 31.7 million passengers setting sail last year, a figure that's only expected to swell to nearly 35 million in 2024, more than a fifth of cruise travelers are now millennials. Almost the same figure as baby boomers and Gen Xers. And over the last 2 years, there's been a major uptick in first-timers like Brooke Gothigo drawn to the entertainment.
I love to dress up and get fancy, and a good theme is always a good party.
Others like John Megis and Joey Fuentes have been on lots of cruises.
The room is very chic, very innovative.
But they say today's experience trends younger and has tons of options.
Well, there's like 26 different restaurants now.
And that is a huge pull for you.
Yeah, it's a big draw.
Industry experts say cheaper, more reliable Wi-Fi also represents a sea change, especially for those who want to mix a little business with pleasure.
Wi-Fi has gotten so good on cruise lines that people are able to stay connected.
They're also finding discounts, loyalty programs, and artist-inspired voyages readily available.
There is a Taylor Swift themed cruise. Taylor Swift is not going to be on board, but it's a chance for Swifties to get together.
But if you talk to some newer cruisers, like the Graham sisters from St. Louis, it's all about seizing the moment.
So maybe in our parents' generation, they had to wait till retirement to do some of these activities. But in terms of our generation, it's like, let's get it in now.
So you think people in many ways are just prioritizing YOLO, if you will?
Yeah. We are.
Yeah.
And in today's good news now, 2 women who have been best friends for practically all their lives are celebrating yet another incredible milestone. JC Caldwell has their story.
Anna here can say what most people can't. She's celebrating her 101st birthday, but even more rare, so is her best friend Dorothy, and they're doing it still by each other's side.
So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
It was a special day for Dorothy Freimiller.
She always loved to bake. She's a great pie cooker, custard, banana cream.
The former pastry chef is now celebrating turning 101 years old.
It's just amazing.
Even more amazing, Dorothy's best friend Anna is also turning 101 years old.
Mom and Dorothy played together. They went to school together, and they lived next door to each other in the country.
The two were born 27 days apart in 1923.
They've been friends for 101 years.
Over the past century, they've lived through the Great Depression, World War II, 9/11, and a worldwide pandemic together. Dorothy even meeting a celebrity or two along the way.
One time, this guy came up to Dorothy and asked her to dance, and it was Clint Eastwood. And so Mom's like, "Are you kidding, Dorothy? Why didn't you marry him?" And Dorothy's like, "He wasn't very good looking."
Now, a century of laughs later, they're still hand in hand at their 101 Dalmatians themed birthday party.
I just want to celebrate them as long as I can.
What an awesome story there. Beautiful to see their lifelong friendship still going strong at 101. Let's send things live outside yet again to, this time, our camera in downtown Honolulu. It is a beautiful day here. And again, we're keeping a close eye on the eruption over at Kilauea. Be sure to tune into our evening newscasts here on Hawaii News Now starting at 4 o'clock. Aloha.